Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, we're looking at something truly remarkable. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
Hmm.
It's almost hard to believe, isn't it? Just 272 words, delivered November 19th, 1863, on this, really grim battlefield.
Yeah. Cold day, apparently.
And somehow those few words didn't just redefine the Civil War's purpose. They fundamentally reshaped the nation itself. It's more than a speech, really. It feels like a foundational text.
It absolutely does. And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To really get under the hood of this thing, to dissect this rhetorical masterpiece.
Right. Go beyond just reciting it.
Exactly. How did Lincoln manage it in such a short address? How did he lay out this whole new vision of freedom? One that, still echoes today, that redefined being American.
We need to explore the rhythm, the ideas packed in there.
Yeah, the cadences, the profound concepts, and how it connects, maybe surprisingly, to thinkers from, like, ancient Greece all the way to modern strategists. We've got a great stack of sources to draw on here.
That's the goal, right? To figure out how so few words could carry just so much weight. For so long, a weight we still feel.
Precisely. And it wasn't just the immediate impact, though that was significant too.
No, it's the lasting legacy.
It's a living document, isn't it? People
Yeah.
are constantly reinterpreting it, applying it to new situations, looking at it through different lenses.
Okay, so let's dive in. Let's really unpack the genius here. So, where else to start but the beginning? 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
That opening, wow.
It has that almost biblical rhythm, doesn't it? It immediately pulls you back to 1776, the birth of the country.
It's incredibly deliberate. You can feel the intention behind it. And what's fascinating is how he uses history. He's not just, reciting facts.
Oh, he's reframing.
Exactly. He's reframing the current struggle 7 years ago. Boom. He connects everyone listening right back to that foundational moment of independence.
He's saying this war isn't just about territory or politics.
Right? It's about fulfilling, or maybe tragically failing, the promise of the revolution itself.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources on Aristotle talk about ceremonial speeches, like this one.
Mm-hmm.
The goal isn't usually arguing facts. People knew what happened at Gettysburg. The goal is to inspire, to move people emotionally, morally,
And that opening does exactly that. Taps right into shared history, shared purpose.
without needing to justify the war itself at that moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's not just reminding them. He's saying, this battlefield, this is the test for everything we claim to stand for. It's a powerful appeal to memory.
It really is. And Quintilian, the Roman rhetorician, in our sources, he points this out. A great orator considers the audience's beliefs, their prepossessions.
Diocese, their reverence.
Precisely. Lincoln knew his audience held the founders and the Declaration in high regard. So he starts there. He positions the Civil War not as some break from those ideals, but as a necessary, maybe unavoidable continuation of them.
Clever. He's using that reverence to push them forward, with a clearer sense of why they're fighting.
Exactly right. And that leads us straight to the heart of it, doesn't it? Dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
In 1863, you have to pause on that.
You really do. For millions of enslaved people, this wasn't a reality. It was a radical idea, an aspiration,
So Lincoln's highlighting the gap, the unfinished work.
the massive contradiction at the nation's core. And think about Frederick Douglass, his 1852 speech, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" Just scathing.
Powerful stuff.
He just lays bare the hypocrisy, celebrating liberty while millions are enslaved. He said, Americans, your Republican politics, your Republican religion are flagrantly inconsistent. He didn't mince words.
No, he certainly didn't, calling out the flagrant inconsistency. But even Douglas, in his anger, saw potential, right?
Yes, that's key. He saw a path forward. He argued the Constitution, if you interpret it correctly, as it ought to be interpreted, he said.
Was a glorious liberty document.
Exactly. That resonates so strongly with what Lincoln is doing implicitly at Gettysburg. He's not throwing out the founding principles.
No, he's calling the nation to them, to finally live up to that promise, the promise Douglas saw hidden in plain sight.
It's a call for the nation to become what it claimed to be.
It really makes you think, how often today do we reach back to founding principles or historical moments to justify or redefine our own struggles, trying to inspire action towards a better future?
It's a timeless strategy, isn't it? A moral appeal. And after grounding it all on those founding ideals, Lincoln pivots. He defines the crisis right now.
Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure.
Right there. He frames the war as the ultimate test, not just a fight, but trial by fire for the whole American experiment.
So it's not just about keeping the states together physically.
It's about proving the viability of a nation built on these ideas. Liberty, equality. Can a nation like that actually survive? It's a test for America, yeah, but maybe for the whole idea of self-government.
Wow. So it becomes this huge philosophical test, a moral test for the nation's identity.
Exactly. Can government of the people, by the people, for the people actually hold when things get this divided? It's not just political survival.
It reminds me of Plato's Gorgias from our sources. The idea of a true leader aiming for the citizens' good, not just, what they want to hear.
That's a great connection. Lincoln absolutely elevates the war's purpose here. It's beyond politics, beyond military tactics. He's saying this fight is about who we are, our soul. Can this experiment actually work?
It's existential.
It really is. And, to bring it down to a more personal level, think about Tony Robbins' idea.
Okay.
Sometimes people rack up so many failures, so much pain, they start to believe nothing they do matters. They just can't win.
Right. Learned helplessness almost.
Exactly. And the nation in 1863, it was right there. Doubt, despair, just unimaginable loss. Lincoln's words are like a counter-narrative.
A reframe.
A powerful reframe. He's saying, don't give in to that paralysis. This struggle is hard, yes, but it's noble, it's necessary. And if we pass this test, we won't just survive. We'll be reborn with a stronger purpose. It's like a psychological reset for the whole country.
Amazing what he packed into so few words already. Which brings us back to that brevity, just 272 words. It's stunning when you think about Edward Everett speaking for 2 hours at the same event.
2 hours, yeah.
Elaborate classical oratory. And Lincoln gets up and delivers this concise poem almost. Why is that shortness so effective? What did it achieve?
Well, that brevity is actually a huge part of its genius. And the classical guys help us understand why. Aristotle points out that rhetoric works best when the facts aren't really in dispute.
Okay, like at Gettysburg. Everyone knew the sacrifice.
Exactly. The horror, the loss, undeniable. Lincoln didn't need to give a history lesson or argue about the war's causes right then. His goal is different.
To consecrate the ground, honor the dead.
And crucially, to inspire the living. By keeping it short, he intensified the focus. He didn't dilute the message. He leveraged that shared understanding of sacrifice and pointed it all towards meaning and purpose.
So it wasn't just a eulogy, it was a laser-focused call to action.
Precisely. A rallying cry.
And it worked. That conciseness feels so deliberate, so artistic in its own way. Quintillion again, right? Something about how avoiding the appearance of art takes the highest art.
That's the one. Avoiding all display of art in itself requires consummate art. Lincoln's language sounds simple, direct, almost plain-spoken.
Like he's just talking.
But that simplicity is the genius. It's not artless. It's incredibly refined, polished. Every single word feels chosen with immense care. Maximum meaning, minimum fuss.
Accessible but deep. Like you said, a diamond. Small but brilliant.
Exactly. It's pure, plain speech power. Aristotle, again in the rhetoric, he champions plain speech. Using common words, maybe a clear metaphor.
Things people actually say.
Right. Makes it hit home. Lincoln nails this. New birth of freedom, government of the people, by the people, for the people. Simple words, mostly Anglo-Saxon roots.
Easy to grasp.
But the metaphorical weight, immense, enduring.
Yeah.
He avoids those long, tangled sentences. He goes for clarity, rhythm, impact. So the message lands whether you're a scholar or a farmer. It just resonates.
That combination, accessibility and depth, is key. And you mentioned structure earlier, something about Aristotle distinguishing different kinds of wording.
Ah, yes. This is fascinating. Aristotle talks about strung together wording versus periods, which he also calls turned back wording.
Okay, what's the difference?
Strung together is kind of rambling, he says. It lacks a clear end, so it's unsatisfying, hard to remember.
Like just stringing clauses together endlessly?
Right. But a period, that's different. It's a stretch of wording that has its own beginning and end at its own right, and a link easily taken in view together.
Okay, like a complete thought unit.
Exactly. Think of Lincoln's opening again. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth, all the way to, all men are created equal. That's a perfect period.
It feels complete.
Balanced, yes. Distinct beginning, clear end, natural rhythm. The ear just grabs it and holds on to it. That structure makes it memorable. The idea lands cleanly and sticks.
So the structure itself helps embed the message in your mind. It's not just the words, but how they're arranged.
Meticulously designed to stick. to become part of the national memory.
It reminds me, too, of that comparison Quintilian makes, Demosthenes versus Cicero.
Right, the rapier versus the bludgeon.
Demosthenes being the rapier, sharp, concentrated, direct. Cicero may be more powerful overall, but sometimes more spread out.
A bit more diffuse.
Yeah. And Lincoln, with this address, feels very rapier-like, doesn't he? That brevity, that focus, cuts right through everything else.
Absolutely. A concentrated burst of moral clarity. He wasn't writing a history book. He was delivering purpose. And that focus lets him appeal to emotion and reason at the same time.
How so?
Well, Quintilian talks about the orator's job. Incite languid people, console sorrow, make arguments that are embellished and supported by the powers of the speaker.
Okay.
Lincoln does all of that at Gettysburg. He acknowledges the immense grief, dignifies the sacrifice, turns death into something meaningful.
Consoling sorrow.
But simultaneously, he's urging the living forward. Keep fighting, but now with this higher purpose clear in your minds.
Inciting the languid or maybe the weary.
Exactly. Comfort and a call to arms woven together.
That balance is incredible, giving people something profound to mourn and something profound to fight for. Cicero talked about dignity and force, right? Especially for big topics.
Yes, essential qualities, giving advice on the greatest things, moving the audience. Lincoln's address just embodies that.
The dignity is in the solemn tone, the elevated language, maybe.
I think so. And the force comes from that direct, unwavering moral clarity. He's not just stating facts, he's infusing them with moral authority, emotional weight. It makes you feel the importance.
It compels you. It's not just informative, it's transformative.
It really is. Speaking to the soul of the nation, like you said, moving it from grief to rededication. That's the alchemy.
It really makes you pause and think about messages that have stuck with you. How did they do it? That blend of short, sharp, deep, and moving, it's rarely the longest ones that last, is it?
Almost never.
Okay, let's circle back to that central, really radical idea, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. At Gettysburg, Lincoln isn't just repeating it, he's expanding it, right? Hinting at a future where it's actually real for everyone.
That's exactly where the new birth of freedom comes in. It's pivotal.
How so?
Because the war started mainly to preserve the Union, keep things as they were, more or less just without secession.
Right.
But Lincoln, through his words here and elsewhere, like the Emancipation Proclamation, links the war effort inextricably to ending slavery, to achieving genuine equality.
So new birth of freedom isn't just keeping the old freedom alive.
No, it implies renewal, a rededication, a spiritual and political reset based on finally fulfilling that founding promise. It demands a deeper, more inclusive idea of liberty, where equality moves from, words on paper to an active national goal.
It changes the whole moral landscape of the war.
Fundamentally. And that struggle for that deeper freedom obviously didn't end in 1863. It went on for generations. Our sources highlight some incredible voices here.
Like Sojourner Truth.
Yes. Her demands for equal rights, for liberty, just unwavering. She wasn't just fighting for emancipation. She was fighting for full human dignity, pointing out the systemic oppression, how all is owned by the lordly white, the struggles Black Americans faced just to exist, let alone thrive.
She really brought it down to earth, the lived reality of inequality.
And that famous quote attributed to her about the Black woman entering.
When and where I enter, then and there, the whole Negro race enters with me. So powerful. It speaks to the unique burdens, yes, but also the idea that progress for the most marginalized lifts everyone. Her perspective shows equality wasn't simple. It was complex, race, gender, economics, all tied together.
It underscores just how deep the unfinished work was that Lincoln was pointing towards. And then you fast forward a bit and you get figures like Booker T. Washington.
Right. And the conversation gets even more complex, maybe more fraught. His Atlanta Compromise speech. It's complicated.
It has that dual message.
On one hand, cast down your bucket where you are. Practical advice, maybe? Focus on economic self-help, vocational skills, building community from the ground up. Find common ground with white neighbors on economic progress.
A strategy for advancement within the current reality.
Perhaps. But then there's that incredibly controversial line.
In all things that are purely social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress. Exactly. And that just reveals the massive tensions of the time. What did equality really mean? How do you get there? There wasn't one answer. Washington's approach, while seeking progress, seemed to accept social segregation, reflecting the immense pressures of the Jim Crow era.
So it highlights the gap between, say, economic uplift And the full social and political integration that Lincoln's new birth seemed to promise.
Absolutely. The new birth of freedom wasn't a finished product delivered at Gettysburg. It was more like a guiding star, inspiring people like Truth and Washington to keep pushing, debating, shaping the nation's conscience in their own ways.
Which brings us back to the cost. Lincoln acknowledges it so solemnly, as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. He's making their sacrifice mean something.
He's sanctifying it, saying their deaths weren't just tragic losses, they were essential contributions to the nation's survival and its moral redefinition.
It connects to those philosophical ideas about death and purpose, doesn't it? Like Seneca, the Stoic idea you mentioned.
Yeah, the idea that we die a little each day, advance towards death by slight degrees. The soldiers at Gettysburg faced that ultimate reality, sudden, brutal. Lincoln's words give their deaths a collective, lasting meaning.
He integrates their individual tragedies into the nation's ongoing story, gives them a kind of immortality through purpose.
Precisely. And think about Elie Wiesel's perspective on survival,
Surviving the Holocaust by chance.
and feeling that survival demanded meaning. A duty to bear witness, to fight indifference. Lincoln is doing something similar here. He's charging the survivors, the whole nation, with that duty. Ensure these deaths weren't meaningless. The burden is on the living.
Fulfill the promise they died for.
Which brings us to a really tough modern connection, the ongoing cost. Brene Brown's work, cited in the sources, on military suicides. Staggering.
The statistic about coming home being more lethal than combat for a period in Afghanistan era.
Yeah, 761 combat deaths versus 817 suicides in that time frame. It's just heartbreaking, and it underscores the deep, often invisible psychological cost of war, the wounds that linger.
It connects Gettysburg right to today. The importance of supporting those who serve long after the fighting stops. Honoring the living, too.
It's a powerful reminder that the cost of freedom isn't just paid on the battlefield. It echoes through lives, families, for years. Lincoln's dedication of that final resting place acknowledges that profound cost and challenges us, the living, to make sure the sacrifice continues to matter, both in how we remember and how we act.
We've talked a lot about the address itself, its impact, its ideas, but let's shift focus a bit to the man, Lincoln. He can seem so monumental, almost mythical. It's easy to lose sight of the human being.
It really is. And our sources give us this amazing, very personal glimpse through Russell Conwell's lecture, Acres of Diamonds.
Right, the anecdote about meeting Lincoln.
Fantastic. Conwell says he was entering the president's room in the White House, and he admits, never so afraid when the shells came around to set Antietam as I was when I went into that room that day.
Wow. The soldier who faced Antietam, one of the bloodiest days, more scared meeting Lincoln than facing cannon fire.
It just paints this incredible picture of the pressure, the aura around the wartime president. It cuts through the myth for a second, shows you the raw human reaction to that level of responsibility.
Absolutely. And then Conwell's description of Lincoln himself is just the opposite, almost jarringly normal.
He calls him so familiar, so everyday, so farmer-like. Not the imposing statesman you might expect in the middle of a civil war.
Not at all. And Lincoln apparently just starts chatting about his plans after the presidency.
Yeah. Conwell quotes him, "Tad and I are going out to Springfield, Illinois. I have bought a farm out there, and I don't care if I again earn only 25 cents a day. Tad has a mule team, and we are going to plant onions."
Onions. It's so mundane, so simple, planting onions with his son. Amidst all that.
It's incredibly humanizing, isn't it? That image just contrasts so sharply with the Lincoln of the portraits, the Lincoln bearing the weight of the nation. It shows this deep longing for peace, for simplicity, for just normal life.
While carrying this unbelievable burden.
And Conwell makes that broader point, too, that true greatness is often unrecognized, that great leaders can still be just the same old Jim to his neighbor.
Like President Garfield, he mentions.
Right. It fits perfectly with Lincoln's farmer-like quality, suggesting leadership isn't always about grand gestures, but maybe about authenticity, humility, that connection to everyday life, holding on to the dream of planting onions even while saving the nation. That's resilience.
It really does change how you hear the Gettysburg Address, knowing that fatigue, that longing for peace underneath the formal words. It brings in ideas about leadership and power, too. Theodore Roosevelt's view, for instance.
Yeah, TR saw the presidency as powerful, definitely, but he stressed it should be sharply watched by the people.
And that no one should hold it too long.
Right. And Lincoln, in Conwell's description, just sounds weary, looking forward to the end of his term. It's such a contrast to leaders who cling to power.
It speaks to a different understanding of service.
It does. And it connects to TR's other point about conscience. Roosevelt said, "No public servant who is worth his salt should hesitate to stand by his conscience, and if necessary, to surrender his office rather than to yield his conscientious conviction."
Standing by your principles, even if it costs you.
And Lincoln embodies that, doesn't he? His commitment to the Union, then to emancipation, facing immense opposition, terrible losses, personal grief. Those weren't just political moves. They felt like deeply held convictions.
A moral compass guiding him.
Absolutely. And that integrity, that willingness to stand by conscience, it gives his words, like the address, that enduring authority. You feel the weight of conviction behind them.
So that intersection of personal character and public duty, how does seeing Lincoln this way, farmer-like, longing for quiet, morally driven, how does that change your perception of the Gettysburg Address? What does it tell you about leadership, especially in crisis?
It suggests that true strength might lie not in appearing invincible, but in shouldering immense burdens while remaining deeply human, deeply connected to core values, and even, perhaps, dreaming of planting onions.
Okay, so we've looked at the context, the craft, the man. But the real power, maybe, is how the address lives on. How it wasn't just for 1863, but set a course for the future, a living document.
Absolutely. It laid groundwork, especially those closing lines. They function as this enduring call to action, a perpetual charge to the living.
It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work.
Which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced, that this nation, under God, shall have new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
It's not an ending, is it? It's a beginning, a directive.
Exactly. The work isn't done. It's our job now. Continuous effort, continuous vigilance required.
And you can really hear that call echoed down through American history. John F. Kennedy's inaugural, for instance, almost a century later.
The parallels are striking. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship.
Support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of a liberty.
And crucially, Kennedy added, God's work must truly be our own. It's that same spirit, isn't it? That national aspirations require active participation, sacrifice, dedication from everyone, just like Lincoln urged.
A continuity of purpose.
Definitely. And then you look at Theodore Roosevelt again, early 20th century, advocating for genuine equality of opportunity.
For every man to show the stuff there is in him.
It fits perfectly with that evolving understanding of Lincoln's all men are created equal. T.R. saw it had to mean real chances for people, regardless of background, moving beyond just legal equality towards something more substantive.
So it's this constant striving, from Lincoln's rededication to T.R.'s push for opportunity, always building on that promise.
Which brings us to that idea of purpose, why it all matters. Simon Sinek's concept is really relevant here.
The start with why idea. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Exactly. And the Gettysburg Address is a masterclass in articulating the why. Lincoln didn't just list facts about the war. He explained why it mattered.
Connecting it back to liberty, equality, self-government.
He gave it that profound moral purpose. He didn't just describe the fight. He explained the fundamental values at stake and offered this compelling vision, new birth of freedom. That resonated with the nation's why.
It turned a brutal conflict into something more, a crusade for principles.
And that sense of purpose, that why, is vital on an individual level too. Leth Brown's ideas come to mind.
You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are, and make no small plans.
Right. The Gettysburg Address is anything but a small plan. It's a grand vision, a call for the nation to become its best self, its true self, to align its actions, with its deepest principles. Why?
To elevate purpose beyond just immediate needs.
Which makes Elie Wiesel's warning even more poignant, the warning against indifference.
The opposite of culture is not ignorance. It is indifference.
Yeah.
The opposite of morality is not immorality. It's, again, indifference. Chilling.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because indifference is subtle, it's passive, but it can be deadly to ideals.
And Lincoln's address is the antidote.
It feels like it. A timeless call to resist indifference, to actively participate in that unfinished work. It's not enough to just agree with the ideals on paper.
You have to care enough to act, to fight the apathy that lets injustice slide, that lets ideals fade.
Exactly. The sacrifices at Gettysburg, the ideals Lincoln voiced, they demand active engagement. Indifference lets it all perish. It's an ongoing choice we all face.
So, thinking about today, Lincoln delivered that clarity of purpose during a time of incredible division, loss, crisis. How does that resonate now with our own challenges?
It's a powerful question.
And maybe more pointedly, what is the unfinished work that still calls for our dedication? How do we fight indifference and keep pushing for those principles, ensuring that Gettysburg's legacy keeps evolving towards real freedom for everyone? Hashtag tag tag outro. Well, this has been quite a journey through just 272 words. We've really tried to unpack the Gettysburg Address, its rhetorical brilliance.
How it managed to redefine American ideals, sparking that vision of a new birth of freedom.
And seeing Lincoln's humanity behind it all, the weary leader, the moral conviction.
Yeah, the man dreaming of planting onions.
Right, and ultimately understanding its enduring power as this living call to action, still speaking to us today.
It really shows the incredible force language can have, doesn't it? Especially when it's wielded with such purpose and moral clarity. Lincoln's words, they don't just sit on the page. They challenge us, inspire us, point us toward that ongoing work of liberty and equality.
So as we wrap up, let's hold on to Lincoln's final powerful plea, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thinking about our own times, with all the divisions and complexities, the potential for just tuning out, what active role do we need to play to uphold that vision?
And maybe, how do we make sure our efforts are towards genuine collective purpose, the kind Lincoln articulated, and not just, empty gestures, not just hoopla, as Vonnegut might have put it.
That distinction feels crucial. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.